And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to day number 2 of the World Team League Winter 2023 qualifiers. I'm, of course, Live VIP, and with me, I'm joined by the lovely people in the chat and my plushies, always. Plushies are here. The teams are ready as well. Very exciting stuff here as we are going to be getting ready for our first matchup of the night. It is going to be the KWANGDONG FREECS versus Team STARCOM. So, last night was a bit of a longer broadcast. We went through the first two rounds of the WTL qualifiers, and now these are qualifying matches. These are matches to make it into not the main event. These matches qualify for Code A. Then you have to go through Code A to make it into Code S. You know, you've got layers here of qualification to make it all the way through into the main event, and we're going to be kicking things off with the KWANGDONG FREECS versus Team STARCOM. Exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the bracket yourselves. Meanwhile, we can have a look at the lineups. Here we go. Okay, so it's a best of 7. Best of 7 and a bunch of 2v2s intermingled within said best of 7. So we have a 2v2, sorry. Best of 2 is what I meant to say. Best of 2 intermingled between all these, between this best of 7. We have TY versus Ashbringer, best of 2. Game 1 is on Babylon. Game 2, losers pick. Losers pick for that second game. Then we have Stats versus Wayne. In a spicy PVZ on Altitude. Then we have Armani versus Kaz on Gressman. And then the ace match, if we make it that far, if we go all the way to the ace match, will be on Neo Humanity as well. So, oh boy, we have quite a matchup before us. It's going to be amazing. It is going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. Best of 7. Now, it is double elimination. What do I mean by that? The winner of this series will qualify for Code A. The loser of this series will be knocked down to the lower bracket, where they will have another chance tomorrow. Tomorrow they have a second chance, a second opportunity to make it into Code A. So, yeah, you know, they have a second life at least. They do have a second life available to them. Feels good, man. Feels good. So, if you're a fan of the Freaks, if you're a fan of STARCOM, do not fret, because no one is being eliminated yet. They all have an extra chance just in case things go awry for either team. So, plenty of StarCraft is ahead of us. To put things into context as well, 2, 4, 6. 6 teams will qualify. 4 teams from the upper bracket, 2 teams from the lower. So basically we have 8 teams at the moment remaining in the qualifier. 6 of them advance on, 2 of them will be eliminated. So some pretty high chances. To make it all the way into at least Code A. And then we can get into Code A when we get there. Well, obviously we'll also be casting that every season. Every season we always cast the qualifiers. We always cast Code A as well, and Code S. We cast everything. Not just WTL, but everything else as well. So, you know, we're always live on the Ducklings. If you're a regular, you would know that, of course. And we are now kicking things off. Our first 2 players are ready. TY versus Ashbringer. Let's go, Papi. Let's go. I'm ready for it. For those wondering, this is the second broadcast of the night as well. We started things off with GPO, with Grand Platypus Open. We just crowned Nice as the GPO champion. I recommend checking out the VODs. We had a lot of fun matches between Nice, Miyamaika, Demi, Joey, and Oriana as well. But here we go. We are getting into game 1 of this best of 7, and spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Babylon, we have the South Korean Terran player representing the KWANGDONG FREECS. It is TY. The rising sun himself. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the blue Protoss player representing Team STARCOM. It is Ashbringer. Here we go, Papi. Here we go. The PVT is upon us. As a reminder, this is a best of 2 between these 2 players, and then we have Stats versus Wayne afterwards. And of course, it's a best of 7, so every match will count. Every point matters. It all goes towards the overall score here, and I'm sure these teams, they don't want to have to come back tomorrow for the next chance at qualifying for the Code A portion of this bracket, of this tournament. They want to make it through here and now in day number 2. As we do see TY going for a more aggressive opener. He's going for a double gas opener here. Double gas, gonna be into a faster factory, into a delayed CC, so less economic for our Terran. Meanwhile, Ashbringer just going for a gate expand. Nothing too crazy for a Protoss player, but I'm excited. Why? Well, we casted TY recently. I say recently, 2 months ago, I think. 2 months ago at this point, we casted TY, and we casted him in GSL. In GSL, he was playing against Classic, he was playing against a bunch of Protoss players, and TY was doing something crazy in this matchup. Something that is very rarely done. Very rare sight in TVP. What is rare in TVP? Oh, mech, papi. TY was going mech against Protoss in GSL, and he made it work. He did make it work in the end. He was actually winning with it. It was a really interesting way, a really interesting approach to it, going for like these Banshee heavy styles, of course, into Battle Mech, into Hellions, into Cyclones. Yeah, it was very unique, and I'm always for something like some variety. Always for watching these players just bring something new to the table. And you know, shout out to TY. He recently, I say recently, it was a while ago now, did finish his military service. He's been streaming, he's been playing Brood War, he's been playing StarCraft 2, and yeah, it's cool to see him returning. He isn't full-time. TY, he's not a full-time player like he used to be, like Dark and Hero. TY, he's more part-time. But regardless, he's still a really strong player. He's still a very strong player, and yeah, he can bring a lot to the table and can still go toe-to-toe with some of these other regulars as well. So he's not one to be taken lightly. Meanwhile, his opponents, Ashbringer, we have been having the luxury of casting him as well. Of course, Ashbringer, he's the brother of Ashbringer, the European brethren, if you will. It makes sense. As we do have one probe already going to be going down. The two Reapers do make their way across the map. They do not get a scat off. They do get forced back. They did not see the tech of Ashbringer. Not yet. Yeah, we haven't seen a lot more of Ashbringer in events like Sparkling Tuna Cup, in OSC King of the Hill, in these online weekly tournaments. Ashbringer, he's always been there, always been present, but still trying to make his name in the scene, still trying to break free from the pack in the European region, because there are so many Protoss players in Europa. And Ashbringer, he's trying to stand out, trying to work his way through, up the ranks. And this will be a really good performance, a really good showcase for him, going up against, you know, a historic player like TY. It would be a great accolade if you could bring him down. Of course, TY is not in peak condition like he used to be, but regardless, still a formidable opponent. As for now, is going for his 1-1-1, is setting up for a bit of a mind job. Additional racks is being thrown down, so no mech this time, thankfully. No mech this time from TY. It's a best of 2, so you know, he has some room to breathe, he has some room to grow. Behind this, we do have additional gateways on the way, so it is going to be a 3-gate Blink Stalker opener from Ashbringer. This 3-gate opener, it's a little bit aggressive. It gives you map control that allows you to contain your opponent, but typically you expand behind it. This isn't as committed as a 4-gate opener. Never mind, we are throwing down some tech before the expansion. Before that happens, the Widow Mine job is coming in towards that natural base. We have 3 mines in total. We do see a reaction. We do pull away the boys. Ashbringer does recognize in time, and shots will go off. Meanwhile, in the main base, do we see what's happening? No, we don't! No! Oof. 6 probes in total. Big connection in the main base. 4 probes in the main, 2 probes in the natural. We will clean this up, but the damage has been done. Not just the damage. What's even more important is that TY scouted his opponent. TY, he saw the Twilight Council, saw it researching, and he saw all the gateways as well. Again, 3 gates in the main. Ooh, Forge being thrown down. We are really delaying that 3rd base. Ashbringer, he's delaying it by quite a bit. I'm curious if he is even going to expand, because the bay is now done and we can get into fast Colossus production. Again, we should be seeing an expansion behind this, but there we go. There we go. There's that pylon and soon to be 3rd base. But really safe play out of Ashbringer, and I'm not too sure how I feel about it, just because in this matchup it is very common for the Protoss player to be more greedy, to get away with a little bit more, to have a better economy than the Terran, to be able to keep up with them, to be able to surpass them as well. So for Ashbringer to be playing this safely, it does concern me a little bit, because it does mean that getting into the mid game, he's going to be a little bit behind when it comes to the economy. He will have the advantage of faster Colossus, yes, but we'll see how much that really works in his favor, because TY behind this is setting up for a big push. He has his Raven gathering up energy, getting ready for the disable. He scattered earlier and he did see the bay, so again, he knows that he doesn't want to harass with that Raven. He doesn't want to throw down auto turrets. He wants to preserve that energy for the interference matrix instead. third base, I believe, has been spotted. Yeah, looking at the vision, Reaper did confirm the third. Reaper also confirmed the, the Robo production, the Colossus coming out, of course, all that good stuff. Viking production has commenced here for TY. And now our eyes kind of shift over towards TY. Okay, so we know what Ashbringer is doing. We know that he rushed into Colossus. He's delaying his third. He's getting into his production, but a third nonetheless. TY on the other side, we're still waiting to see if he throws down additional Raxes. If he throws down 2 more Raxes, it's going to be a 2-base all-in, and he'll pull the boys. But at this point, we should have seen those Raxes by now. So it looks like he's going to go for a push, yes, but he should be expanding behind it. We'll see. As TY does have a pretty hefty army supply lead, he's going to be moving out. He's got some Vikings to help support. He's got his 3 tanks. He's going to be moving out. If he does take an expansion, he should be throwing down the CC on location as he moves out. Meanwhile, the Observer doesn't really see too much. Does spot some of the units and does see the army rotate over towards the right-hand side. Does see that TY is still at home for the time being, but there we go. As TY does spot the Observer, is going to snipe it. Observer goes down, and it looks like he is looking to take his third base on location. We have the SCV chilling, waiting, and the army moves out. Okay, so when it comes to the army, we have plenty of energy on this Raven. We do have enough for disables. The move out has been spotted by Hallucination. Ashbringer, he knows. I almost said Australia. Ashbringer, he does know he has a shield battery. He has an overcharge. Doesn't have too much to support himself here, though. Very little anti-air. Where are the Stalkers? Ashbringer, oh, he's supply blocked. No, Ashbringer, he supply blocked, and now is not the time. We do see actually an anti-armor missile on the main army. Here come the Stalkers to the low ground, but again, Ashbringer, he cannot warp in. He has so much money in the bank, and he can't spend it. There we go. Pylon does finish up. The Vikings are going hand. The Colossus, one of them does get disabled. But big volleys on the other Colossi. The Stalkers are not in position. These Vikings are going ham here on the Colossi, but we do have some reinforcements coming in. Anti-armor missile does run out. Raven was sniped as well. We can see TY trying to wedge himself in between these bases. Does throw down a third CC behind this. TY did get one of those Colossi, but he's having a hard time really gaining too much ground. The tanks are covering this area, though, and it looks like the Marauders are able to bust their way into the natural, and here we go. We're diving on the tanks. We're trying to, at least. But the army comes in from behind. 1 Colossus, 2 Colossus are going to be going down. The entire army gets annihilated, obliterated by the tanks. The positioning here was just a little bit too good, and it looks like Ashbringer has lost his army. GG gets called. And TY will take game number 1. GG. The supply blocks were so unfortunate as well. That was the worst time to be supply blocked for Ashbringer. Did delay a lot of warp-ins, and did, of course, mean that TY was able to really situate himself very nicely in between the bases. He was able to wedge himself and really make it awkward for Ashbringer to kind of maneuver between the natural and the third base without taking a lot of hits to the face, without taking big tank volleys. Also, really unfortunate positioning. Because the Stalkers were over on the right-hand side, it meant that the Vikings, they were getting so many free shots off on those Colossi. And with that, TY takes a lead for a series. Meanwhile, game 2, it's going to be Ashbringer's map of choice. And the map is going to be Ancient Cistern. Here we go. He's going for, it makes sense, he's going for a much larger map. Small maps like Babylon, Dragon Scales, even Royal Blood at times can be really suffocating for the Protoss. These big Terran move-outs, it doesn't take too long to move out on the map, and if the Terran manages to siege themselves in between the natural and the third like that, it can be really awkward to engage. So this map makes a little sense to me. Ancient Cistern, it's much larger. Ashbringer, he's going to be a little bit more comfortable on this map. He's going to have more breathing room. It's going to be a little bit harder, or nigh impossible, for the Terran player to get an angle of attack that good. So, looks like a more safer choice here from our Protoss. But, here we go. We are getting into game number 2, and spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have the South Korean Terran player representing the KWANGDONG Freecs. It is TY. Taeyang himself. And spawning in the top right hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have his opponent. We have the blue Protoss player representing Team STARCOM. stumbling a little bit in game 1, but looking to regain his footing here in game 2. It is Ashbringer. Asher Brothers brother. Confirmed. Why does he bring the Ash? Oh, because someone needs to bring Asher, bro. Someone needs to. Smooch. Where is he, Poppy? Where is he? Yeah. We'll be casting again soon, I'm sure. We'll bring Asher back. It's okay. Just catching up on the chat. And once again, just like game number 1, TY is gonna be going for another double gas opener. Okay. So very similar to the previous game. With this, he's going to be delaying his CC, going to go for a faster factory, going to go for faster aggression. We saw that aggression was kind of revealed to us in the form of a triple Widowmine drop in game number 1, and it was worth it. It was something that really caught Ashbringer off guard. It caught him with his pants down a little bit, as 2 mines were dropped into the natural, and he thought it was only 2 mines, and then we had a 3rd mine in the main base, which was able to pop off and give TY a really strong lead early on by killing those 6 workers. So again, you know, it wasn't just about the attack, it wasn't just about the push from TY, but also the lead up to it as well was doing a lot to really slow Ashbringer down. But now we're here in our second game, and Ashbringer has a chance at redemption. He has a chance to bring himself back in. Now, very safe play here from our Protoss player. Looking at his vision, he did scout across the map. He saw the double gas opener. He's throwing down a safety shield battery in his mineral line to make sure he's able to keep up with the Reaper harass of his opponent. CC is thrown down, and yeah, we have Reapers and Hellions on the way for TY. Meanwhile, the Reaper does deal and clean up this probe, finally shutting it down. Now Ashbringer is going to be in the darkest to the follow-up. We do have another shield battery on the way at the natural base. So again, very safe play out of Ashbringer. Another reason why he's throwing that shield batteries is because he went for a sentry opener or a sentry follow-up. This is sometimes a risky move just because you have less DPS and less firepower, but that's why we have shield batteries to make up for that. And this sentry is going to allow Ashbringer to go for a follow-up hallucination scout. And there it is. Hallucination is on the way across the map. This is an opener that has become a little bit more popular recently. A reason for that, I don't know if you noticed, but it was a couple of months ago, there was a patch to the game, and it did mean that I believe the sentry, the point, I think it's the damage point or the rate of fire is a little bit faster when it comes to the initial attack. And when it comes to kiting, it was the same patch that changed the workers and how they're able to attack move, and how they're able to, like, you know, starch and stop an attack. And how they can deal with Widowmine drops, I should say. That's the big thing that it kind of impacted. So the sentry is basically a little bit more microable than it used to be. And the scout across map confirms the 1-1-1 opener. I think it's damage point. There's certain verbiage that's used. As we do see the first sentry going to be going down, but at least it was able to get a scout off across the map. Confirm, of course, the opener, and we can see, interesting, no Widow Mines this time. I mean, there is 1 mine, but only 1 as it's moving out across the map for TY. Looking to drop into the main base. We do have 1 Stalker in position. Reapers are going to rotate into the main as well. Mainly our Warpins are focused at the natural, and here we go. The drop does go into the main. We do pull the boys in. Oh god! No! As we retarget it, 3 probes go down and the Stalker as well. Unfortunate pathing there for Ashbringer. Shield battery will fall. The Marines are putting in a lot of work. The Reapers as well, as they get 5 probes in total and the shield battery and a Stalker. Well worth it for TY back at home. We do see our 3-1-1 setup. We're going very quickly into tank production, as we only had 1 Widowmine. As we only made 1 Widowmine. And this is going to be a lot more aggressive this time from TY. The follow-up push is going to hit that much harder, that much faster compared to game 1. Oh! As we're going for another drop in towards the natural. Up! Medevac is going to go down. Marine's going to try to focus on whatever they can. And another shot will go up. Just on a probe. And TY will be forced back. But the damage has been done. Looking at the units also tab, you can see here the trades that we've been seeing. In a way, actually, it would have been worth it for TY, but he did lose the medevac. That was an expensive loss for our Terran player. So at least Ashbringer is able to make his opponent pay for it a little bit. Ooh, as the shield battery hasn't been rebuilt and the Reaper goes back in. Getting another probe. Meanwhile, Ashbringer, that's a lot of gateways. That is 4 gates alongside Blink. So a very aggressive follow-up this time from Ashbringer. He's got Stalkers at the natural. Stalkers going into the main. Sorry, did I say 4 gates? I meant to say 6 gates. Jesus. He's got 6 gateways behind him. Heading into the main. Oh, Zealot's actually... Sorry, my mistake. He didn't go for Blink. He went for Charge instead. So he was looking for some economic damage. Zealots, though, are going to be cleaned up. Disruptor. Sorry, the War Prism cannot save them. So we're not getting into Disruptors, we're getting into Colossi instead. So yeah, really interesting opener from Ashbringer to go for Charge instead of Blink. That does mean that he has a little bit less available to him to deal with these drops. As behind this, TY is going for a much faster CC. Going to be going for a much faster third base. So even though he was getting into tank production a little bit quicker, he wasn't really committing to any kind of tank push, actually. He's still just situating himself back at home, going to be taking his third base. Is now moving out, yes, but he's more concerned with expanding. As Ashbringer is taking his own third base back at home, working on his Colossi. Getting everything up and running. As he dips into the main base. Oh, that Prism is going to take a lot of damage. And the Zealots are at least buying some time. They get eyes on the Raxes, the production. Ashbringer is also aware that his opponent is staying at home. And we should be able to get into the mid game. Let's go. We spoke earlier that Ashbringer, you know, he wanted a bit of a more comfortable mid-game situation, and that's what he's going to get. As a Prism is going to get hunted down. Likewise, Hallucination confirms the third base on location. Confirms the army positioning as well. And on top of that, does confirm that TY is saturating that third. So Ashbringer has to be feeling pretty comfortable overall. And as we're all getting comfortable, a shout out to Baby Links in the chat. Thank you so much for the raid. Thank you so much for the support. Hope you had a great stream. Hope you had a great ladder session. I know there was a little bit of smudge with some of the Smurfs on the ladder, but overall, hope you had a great time and hope you enjoyed yourself. Thank you for the raid. Oh, as we are here in our first best of 7 between the KWANGDONG Freecs and Team STARCOM in our first best of 2. To put things into context for those that are tuning in, this is the World Team League Winter Qualifiers, and this is a qualifying match for Code A. This is a way into Code A, and you have to work through Code A to make it into Code S. So there are layers here to actually qualify for the main event for Code S, and these teams, they are working their way through everything. Here we go. The army of TY finally moving out across the map, but this time a little bit more refined. We have the Raven, obviously, for disables, yes. But we also have Ghosts. Ghosts for EMPs. How many Vikings? We have 4 Vikings. 2 Liberators as well are coming across the map. And we're going to be facing off against 4 Colossi. It's a lot of Colossi. Oh! EMP so far does connect with the majority of those sentries. The majority of the army as well. Very little energy is left here for those force fields. Anti-armor missile. We can see TY edging on closer here. The Liberators as well going to be covering those tanks. And there we go. Oh my god. Another back-to-back anti-armor missile on the army. Just covering everything. And now Ashbringer, he's being zoned away from his own natural. Overcharge is going to be popped. Ashbringer, he's going for another warp in. He's trying to muster up his army. He's probably trying to wait out the anti-armor missile, but we have another. 3 missiles back to back to back. You can't avoid it. He's pushing on in. The tank volleys are insane. The Colossi are going down. The EMPs likewise were insane earlier as well. And TY just annihilates this army. GG gets called. And TY takes game number 2, taking down Ashbringer 2-0. GG. Oh my god. That was a pretty dominant showing there from TY. Again, even though he isn't full-time like he used to be, even though he isn't, you know, in peak condition like he was back in the day before military service, he's still a formidable opponent. And just like that, TY, oh, he does provide Kwangdong Freecs a pretty solid lead in this series. You see there, just underneath the scores, they are up 2-0 in this best of 7. And we will switch the scenes over to have a look at the rest of the lineup. So this is not an all-kill format. This is WTL format. As you can see, TY did take down Ashbringer on Babylon and Ancient Cistern. Game 3, we have 2 fresh players. Stats versus Wayne in a PVZ. Let's go, Pac. Let's go. So, Wayne, he needs to take at least a game. And again, Wayne is the ace player of Team STARCOM, so he has a good chance. I want to believe that he can go toe-to-toe with Stats. I want to believe that he can pull this off. But it's going to be on Wayne to bring it back here in this best of 2. If Stats wins this 2-0, that's it. That's the end of the series, and Kwangdong Freecs, they make it into Code A. If Wayne takes a game, then the series will progress. You know, it's first to 4. It's the first team to 4 wins. Of course, if we make it past Stats and Wayne, then we're going to be getting into Armani versus Kaz, as they are going to be the 3rd lineup in this best of 7 Team League match. Oh. So already a really strong start for Kwangdong Freecs. Really strong showing. But we'll see if that does continue. I'm catching up. I see Mito in the chat. I'm gonna be so sad I can't watch you guys frequently anymore. In 2 weeks, I'm moving to the US. I mean, wish you the best of luck in your travels to the US. As you did mention, our streams are more catered towards Oceania, Southeast Asia, and for Europe as well. This is like kind of midday-ish in Europe, if I'm not mistaken. So it is really rough for like American or North America or Latin American viewers. I understand. I think the only thing that we cast for a US friendly time slot is ESL Open Cup Americas. We'll do our best. Oh, and the Tenacious Turtle Tussle, to be fair. TTT, that as well. We'll try and do more. As we are getting into this and spawning in the bottom left hand corner of Altitude, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing the Kwangdong Freecs. More freshly out of the military, it is Stats. Let's go. And here we go, spawning in the top right-hand corner. We have his opponent. We have the blue Zerg player, the ace player for Team STARCOM. It is Wayne. Here we go. And as is being mentioned in the chat, I even saw someone say, I forgot that Kwangdong Freecs, they had a team. Yeah, we mentioned earlier, the players on Kwangdong Freecs, they're more part-timers. Stats, TY, and Armani, they're not full-time anymore. You rarely see them in online weekly tournaments. They're not like Dark, or Hero, or Maru, or Byan, or DRG, or some of these other guys. These players are less active. They're a little bit less active, which is a bit of a shame. I'm pretty sure most of them have like full-time jobs. or like other forms of income. But it's really cool to see that they're coming together, at least for this team league. They also play in GSL, of course. They participate in the qualifiers, and they play in the main events whenever they can. But they're less active otherwise. Less active otherwise. But that doesn't mean that that I want to see less of them. Not at all. Like, I love Stats and TUI and Armani. They're some of my favorite players, actually, now that I think about it. Especially Armani. Go to a soft place in my heart for Armani. So yeah, I hope that they're able to participate more often, and I mean, making it into WTL, that's going to be a big thing for them, because they're going to have a more frequent, a more consistent tournament that they can play in every week. Give them more reason to improve, more reason to play, participate, compete, and ladder even. So yeah, definitely I'm going to be looking forward to stream as well, of course. Don't forget about the streams. But as we're easing ourselves into this, Stats is going to be going for a Stargate opener. You love to see it. Stargate opener here from Stats. Likewise, Wayne just going for a hatch gas pool. Nothing too crazy, is going for his third base as well. So pretty standard stuff from both our Zergs and our Protosses. Which is important to point out, because Wayne can be a very aggressive player. Wayne, he can be a very aggressive, very cheesy player. We have seen him go all in time and time again, but now he's going for a more macro oriented approach, which I do appreciate. I do appreciate it. Yo, shout out to CranKy Kronos in the chat. Kronos, the real Korean. Just they're moderating for the Korean viewers. 감사합니다. 안녕하세요, papi. Until then, we have the first two adepts going to be shading across the map as well. Keeping an eye on things. The first Oracle is also moving out. Talking about the map a little bit itself, a big reason as to why we have some pretty standard openers so far is that Altitude is the largest map in the map pool. Very large, very macro-oriented. Ooh, and there is no Spore here at the third base. The Queens are rotating over, though. They're going to get here in time, but drones are going to go down. Oh, bit of a late reaction there. 3-4 workers full. At the same time, Lings were going for a counterattack, so Wayne had his attention elsewhere, but does pay a price for it. So he does lose 4 of those workers. Those 4 drones do go down. And meanwhile, Stats, he does reinforce his first Oracle with a second Oracle as well. Gonna be heading back into that natural base, and even more drones will be falling again. Wayne getting punished here for not having a Spore. Does kill one of those Oracles, but that's already 9 drones going down for 1 Oracle. Ay, ay, ay. A brutal start here for Wayne, and it's not over. The Adepts, they shade on in as well. Wayne maybe just being a little bit too greedy, cutting too many corners. The Queens are rotating on over. They're going to be exposing the main. And the Oracles, they come in from behind. Wayne, he's being pulled apart. 8 drones in total here at the third. Now we're working on +1 melee, which is fine and all, but the economy here for Wayne is in shambles. No Spore in the main. The Queens are out of position. They were brought over before just because of how chaotic things were getting. And Wayne, he has to make something happen with this Link counterattack, but there are Adepts, there's a Sentry, Force Fields. Everything is in position. It looks like we're going to be able to catch some transferring workers. 1 probe goes down, and we get a surround. But the Force Field does deny the surround. Stats, he doesn't lose. He barely loses anything. He loses 1 probe. He's lost 1 probe, 1 Oracle, and 1 Adept for 14 drones. Not like this. Not like this, Papi. And Wayne, he's got a lot of recovering to do. Because he lost so many workers, he just has to focus on re-droning, taking another base. This does slow down the tech of Wayne. It slows down his eventual army production as well. Stats, he has a lot of breathing room, and when we do eventually work on the first push, Stats, it's going to hit like a truck. Another 3 drones go down. Stats, he's not done with the harass. The Oracles, they're not done with Wayne, as 3 more drones go down. Behind this, Blink is on the way. +1. Templar Archives, 4 Archons. And we have the Prism. Stats, he can start being aggressive on the map with more than just harassing units. He can start bringing his army forth as well. Meanwhile, Wayne back at home just focusing on re-droning, resaturating his bases. Bailey Nest is on the way. So Lingbane Roach Ravager is going to be the composition of choice. The problem is that, again, Wayne, he's just been forced to drone this entire time to just recover from all of his losses. He's even working on the gold? Okay. I mean, the gold is a good way to come back in this game if he can hold on to it. Until then, though, we do have a Prism threatening and drop into the main. Oh, no. But, Stats, leave the drones alone. They just want to work, Papi. They just, it's too much. It's far too much. 4 more workers go down. The Adept shades into the natural, getting another drone. Almost getting another drone. How many workers have gone down this game? Looking at the units lost tab here, 21. 21 drones. Ay, ay, ay. Not like this. As Wayne finally has a decent economy. He's up to around 76. You know, that's just around a 4 base economy here for Wayne. Now he can focus on Lingbane Roach Ravager. Now he can focus on building up his forces. Meanwhile, what does Stats have back at home? Stats, oh my god, has been missing some warp-ins. He's got 2k minerals in the bank. I was curious as to why Stats was so behind in the army supply, but he doesn't really have too many gateways to work with. He's on 8 gates, to be fair, but he has been missing warp-ins. Whether it's intentional or not, he has been avoiding warping and zealots. So because of that, Stats' own macro has been slipping a little bit. We can see +1 air attack is on the way. So it looks like Stats, he's less concerned with attacking and more concerned with taking up into Skytoss. He's just being very defensive back at home. And he's allowing Wayne to get back into this. He's allowing Wayne to saturate this gold base and to get his economy back up and running. Now, Wayne has to be careful not to overextend. He's posturing. We do see Stats taking up even further. So, even though Stats has been doing a lot of economic damage, he's not doing much behind this. Charge is delayed. Their charge is late, by the way. It is delayed. These zealots aren't going to be able to do too much. Bailey's going to be rolling on in. Good force fields, though. Stats is going to be able to defend. Decent storm on those lings as well. But again, because Stats is going to be taking up into Skytoss, it means that he isn't going to be active on the map. He's staying back at home instead. If this is the case, oh my god, the babies are rolling! The High Templar! The High Templar go down. Big pickoffs here for Wayne. Wayne, he's looking to snowball out of control. This base is going to be going down. The mineral line falls as well, at least 7 workers. Wayne backs off, he can rebuild. And Stats does not have enough to counterattack. His 4th was late. His worker count isn't really what it needs to be. And these carriers, they're going to take a long time. They only just now started. Wayne could end the game before the carriers hit the field. And here we go. The Immortals are falling. The bases, they crash on in. GG gets called. Wayne does fight back. He takes game number 1. GG. Oh, well played, Wayne. Fighting back for his team. He is the ace player on Team STARCOM for a reason, and he did well recovering. When it comes to Stats, do have to be a little bit critical. He was doing really well in the early game, as we saw, and I do think he was setting himself up really well for maybe a timing attack later on, but we saw him slipping up a little bit too much when it comes to the macro side of things. His 4th base was really late, his charge was delayed, taking up and transitioning into Skytoss was really bold before he had a 4 base economy, so it was really risky and greedy of him to try to do that. Yeah, when it comes to outside of just unit control, I would say that Stats, his micro and his control was really good, not even just when it came to Adept Harass and Oracle Harass, but like the storms, the force fields as well, when we saw him defending. His unit control was looking really good. It was the macro where Stats was slipping up. And that is where Wayne was able to recover and able to overcome and surpass Stats. GG. GG, well played. So, yeah, I did mention earlier that, again, Stats, TY, Armani, they're not full-time players anymore, and some of their rust could be showing a little bit here. But that's also why I said it was really important for them to make it into WTL. If this team, if Kwangdong Freecs, if they don't qualify for WTL, there is less reason for those players to actually practice and ladder, right? Like, there's less reason for them to actually look to improve, just because, like, the GSL seasons are so short as well, and, you know, they're a little bit more fewer and farther between. WTL is almost like it's taking the place of Pro League back in the day. Back in the day, Pro League was a weekly event that all the players would practice and train for and be there for. Alas, that's also what WTL is now becoming, and it's going to be exciting to see the KWANGDONG Freecs as a part of that. Going to be seeing them more frequently, and they're going to have just something to give them that passion, that drive to compete. Oh boy. And we'll see if they can make it through. We'll see if they can get into Code A as we're getting into the next game, as Wayne is not making it easy for them. Oh, here we go. And as we are getting into our next game and spawning in the top left-hand corner of Gressvan, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing the KWANGDONG Freecs. It's the red Protoss. It is Stats. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the blue Zerg player, the ace player for Team STARCOM, putting a point on the board, looking to tie things up. It is Wayne. This is fairly normal for Protoss to some extent. To some extent, yes. Not to the extent that we saw, though. I understand that, you know, we don't want to be too harsh on the players, definitely. But at the same time, we also don't want to overlook too many things either. Now, what I will say as we get into this game, Gressvan is a much more defensive map. It is easier, far easier here for a Protoss or a Terran player, or a player in general, to get their third base and their fourth base up and running, as well as their fifth on Gressvan. So if Stats is going to go for another defensive style, if he's also looking to slowly get into his third, into his fourth, and get into Skytoss, Gressvan, it is a much easier map to do it on this map compared to Altitude. Altitude, yes, it's large, but Altitude also has really spread out bases. The third and the fourth are really isolated from each other, so it can be difficult to turtle and defend those bases, especially as a Protoss player as well. So if Stats goes for a similar style, then, you know, he can do so here. He can pull it off on Gressvan. Meanwhile, Wayne is now on notice. Now he's aware of what kind of potentiality Stats has, and he's gonna have a little bit more information coming into this game as to how he wants to approach things and how he wants to approach Stats. Still have a Pro League shirt? Yo, let's go. I think I have a Pro League shirt as well, from the ESL days. So now Stats is going for a Stargate opener back at home. Everything's looking pretty normal, pretty standard, just like the last game for Stats. And again, the early game was looking really strong. Like that, there's very little to be critical of for Stats when it comes to his early game. It was looking good. See the chat. Pro League was peak. I miss. It was mate. Pro League was. It was something else. It was beautiful. Mate, the Telecom Wars. Cheering. I was a big Samsung fan during Pro League. Big Samsung fan. That's why I'm a big Armani fan. Armani, he was on Samsung. Solar, Terminator as well. Sorry, not Terminator. Terminator was on Jin Air. My apologies. I was thinking of Bravo. Bravo was on Samsung. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. as we are getting into this. And so far, again, a very standard opener out of stats. Going to be going for his oracles. First one is hitting the field. Second one is on the way. As we do see Wayne setting up as well. This time I'm hoping that he's going to be throwing down some safety spore crawlers. We have a spore on the way in the natural base. Third, a little bit more exposed, but we are about to have 3 queens at the third, and we have 2 queens here in the main base. Let's go. Here we go, the oracles. They do head towards it. As the oracles head towards that natural base, they do get 5 workers, but we do trade out an oracle for it. The spore putting in a lot of work here defensively for Wayne. This time he's able to at least punish one of the oracles, but still loses 5 workers. Meanwhile, oh my god, we are going into a much faster Twilight Council into Glaive Adepts. Again, there is no forge behind this, so a very aggressive follow-up here from stats. This is kind of what I wanted out of stats on altitude, not gonna lie. As we do have more and more adepts on the way. So far, Wayne, I believe he hasn't quite scattered this yet. He does see additional adepts being warped in at the third base, so we can try to piece this together. Roach Warren, though, is delayed. Still halfway done. So just as we're just banking up those adepts back at home. No, he's droning. No, Wayne, he's droning right now. He's getting an infestation, but he's not going to be ready for these adepts. Looking at the unit tab, he has 11 drones, and that is 11 lings, and that is it. Stats, he shows up, and Wayne is woefully underprepared. He cancels the infestation, but he's got roaches in production, but he just made a wave of drones. Can he buy enough time for those roaches to pop out? As the adepts are looking to bust on through, they take down 2 of the queens, going to take down a 3rd queen as well. We don't commit to the shade, and so far we haven't done too much economic damage, but we are getting into the mineral lines. As roaches are trickling on out. Workers are falling left and right. We commit to the shade, we get into the main base, and this is already becoming too much damage. 13 drones in total and counting. As we bust into the main. More adepts here at the third base, and again, Wayne, he wasn't able to read this in time. He wasn't able to recognize that adepts were coming across the map until it was too late, until they were already here. 20 drones in total. And we're not done. Oh, we're nowhere near being done. Not like this. Not like this, but... Again, that's why this is a very powerful build, to go for hidden Glaive Adepts after your initial Oracle Harass, after a third base. Wayne, he was making assumptions. He was assuming that Stats was playing standard, that he was going into Blink Stalkers, that he was going into +1, and into Robo Production. And Wayne is being punished for his assumptions. And here we go, he's going for a big counterattack across the map. Roach speed is done. Wayne is pretty committed. He's pretty all in. Now, what do we have at home to defend? We have we have 2 Immortals. 2 Immortals at the natural. We have Sentries for Force Fields. We have a Nova Charge. We have a Shield Battery. Stats, he just has to survive. As he's getting even more workers across the map. Again, Wayne is 100% all in with this counterattack. Roaches, Ravagers, Lings, everything being sent out. One way or another, the game will end. Good Force Fields. Takes down a Ravager. At the same time, Roaches, they try to go for a backstab behind this army. The Lings, they do not get in. GG gets called. And Stats will take game 2 and will take a lead here for his team. Does redeem himself and does put a point on the board. GG. GG, well played. We have a series. I mean, we already had a series, to be fair. But now the Kwangdong Freecs are looking very well situated to make it into Code A, as we do switch our scenes over and have a look at the lineup. So, TY initially 2-0'd Ashbringer. Wayne and Stats, they went back and forth. Also, I should update this. Hold on. There we go. Wayne and Stats went back and forth. They went 1-1, and again, it's a best of 2 between them, not a best of 3. So we're gonna leave it at a 1-1. And now it comes down to Armani versus Kaz. Armani needs one game. He needs to win one match here against Kaz for his team to qualify for Code A. Meanwhile, Kaz needs to win this series 2-0 to force the ace match. If we get to the ace match, it's going to be on Near Humanity. Otherwise, oh boy, otherwise Team STARCOM would have to fight their way back in through the lower bracket. So the pressure is on Kaz. I was feeling pretty good about Wayne, especially after game 1, that he could maybe 2-0 Stats, but as we saw, Stats was a little bit cheeky. He followed it up with Glaive Adepts after the initial opener, and Wayne had no idea. He had no idea the Glaive Adepts were coming. He was not ready for it at all. He was droning, he was teching. He was really just not expecting Glaive Adepts to show up, and they killed him. They straight up just killed Wayne. And STARCOM, they're gonna have to rely on some of their other players instead. Kaz isn't a bad player, don't get me wrong, but this is gonna be an uphill battle. I mean, it depends. It does depend. If we're talking like peak Armani, then Kaz is in trouble. But this is an Armani that doesn't compete too often anymore, right? We were talking about it. Armani, he doesn't play in weeklies, he doesn't play in East Asia, he doesn't play in KSL, he doesn't play in Kung Fu Cup. He participates in the qualifiers for GSL, and if he qualifies for the main event, then he'll be there. But outside of that, Armani, you know, he's not, you know, full-time StarCraft like he used to be. So the question becomes, what's his skill level right now? You know, what kind of Armani are we going to be seeing here? And we're gonna get a glimpse of that in game 1. We're gonna get a better idea of the form of Armani, and obviously he was a great player. Way back when he was a little bit more, you know, consistent when with his competition, with his competing. Nowadays, how does he compare to Kaz? Does Kaz have a chance? I do think he does have a chance, but it's still going to be an uphill battle, I feel. But we'll see. We'll see. Best of luck. Papa Kaz. Yes, Papa Kaz is going to be coming out. Let's go. Flash in the pan. Hyun was, yeah, he was fun. He was fun. One of my favorite players from Pro League. I see a bunch of people like reminiscing in the chat. I was a big Cassia fan. I loved Cassia. But like that's just because Cassia was like an underdog. He was like the underdog of underdogs. Like god, if only. So for those wondering, Cassia, he was on Prime back in the day. He was on Prime. It was teammates with Creator and a bunch of other players, and he was an up-and-coming Zerg player, and there were always like these moments of brilliance. Like you could see that he had potential as a player. You could see that he was like on the brink of like being good, but he never could quite make it. He could never quite make it, and he suffered from a lot of like nerve issues. He was a very nervous player, especially playing in the booth on camera in front of a crowd. Always suffered as a result of that, and yeah, he was never able to like really break in. Who else was I a fan of back in the day? Of course Bravo, of course Terminator. Who else? Journey was always a fun player to watch. Papa Journey. Oh my god. Trying to think of some of the others. Bunny, of course. Bunny back on CJ. Big Bunny fan. Big Bunny fan. So many old school names, so many. Who else? What else am I thinking of? Myungshik. Myungshik was an interesting character, Way back when. But yeah. regardless, you know, WTL is the closest thing we have to Pro League nowadays, and it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun casting WTL every week, being able to cheer for all these teams. You know, as much as I want to reminisce about, you know, Pro League back in the day, WTL in current era, mate, the Camels, the Starving Camels, they were underdogs last season and they popped off. They made it through the qualifiers. They made it through Code A, into the playoffs of last season of WTL, and we became really big Starving Camels fans on this channel. Over the course of last season, myself, Asher, Yaku as well. It was beautiful seeing them kind of make their way through, and I love that, like, the cherry on top, we were casting Masters Coliseum, and if you were there for the Masters Coliseum broadcast, then you would have been there for Firefly. He was the ace player of the Starving Camels, and after WTL, I don't know if like fans got it for him or he got it for himself. But he has grapes. Like, he's not on. He got picked up by Platinum Heroes. He got picked up by Platinum Heroes a couple of weeks ago, for WTL. So he's not on the Camels anymore. But he has like a massive grape plushie, and grapes are a part of the logo of the Starving Camels. And I love that he has that on camera as like an homage to his old team. Once a camel, always a camel. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it so much. So in current era, I think WTL may be my favorite event to cast nowadays. Just because it's so much more fun, and you know, you get such a diverse array of teams and players from all over the world, from China, from Korea, from Europe, from North America sometimes as well. It's really cool seeing everyone come together. You get the cameras again, so we get to see the reactions. It's not exactly the same as Pro League. It's I would say it's very different. It's a different kind of event, but it's a lot of fun. And yeah, I think it has become probably my favorite thing to cast nowadays. It's very refreshing compared to everything else that we have. You know, like single, double elimination events, round robin, big formats, like. Yeah, there's always a soft place in my heart for Team League matches. It's good stuff. Meanwhile, we are getting ready for our next series. We are getting ready here for our next matchup. Catching up with the chat. Hurricane, yo, Hurricane was, yo, you just like, as soon as you said Hurricane, my brain went to Super. I miss Super. Do you guys remember him? The Taekwondo Protoss. Super. Oh my god. Good stuff. Super was wholesome. He was wholesome. Here we go. We're just waiting for our players to get ready for the next matchup, and we are now loading in to the bottom right hand corner of Gressfarm, where we have the Ukrainian Terran player representing Team STARCOM. It is Kaz. And spawning in the top right hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing the Kwangdong Freecs. It is Armani. Alright, here we go. Again, did take us a little bit to get all the players together and ready, but everyone has arrived. We can begin this best of two to wind it all back, because I know that we had a little bit of story time earlier. Yeah, to bring it all back here in this match, Armani needs one win. One win is all he needs for his team, for the Kwangdong Freecs, to qualify for Code A of WTL. Meanwhile, Kaz needs to 2-0 here to force the ace match. We need to see a 2-0 from our Terran player to be able to bring it all to neo-humanity. Oh boy, the pressure is on. Again, Kaz alongside Damaga, they are very old school players. They've been competing for a very long time. So does he feel any pressure? Nah, mate, no pressure at all. He has years decades of experience under his belt. Kaz is one of the older active players out there. Maybe older, but he's still damn good at this game. And interesting here. Okay, so Kaz is going for a Rax expand. He is skipping his SCV scout. He is skipping his Reaper and going reactor first. So a very greedy opener here. Very risky opener. The reason why I say this is risky is because he is not going to be able to see if it's a pool first or if it's a 12 pool, if it's a roach rush. He has very limited, or he has zero scouting information. Now, luckily for Kaz, Armani went for a hatch gas pool. He's going for a standard opener, and he's going for his third base. He's hiding his drone in case a Reaper shows up. Little does he know that there are no Reapers, and he'll realize that once these Marines show themselves. So, yeah, thankfully for Kaz, he gambles, and he doesn't get punished for it. Armani's playing normal. But if Armani had been, you know, a little bit more aggressive, then Kaz, he would be in trouble. He would be in trouble when it comes to defending and preparing a defense. Here we go. We're getting into our next game. We're getting into this as the Lings have arrived. Marines are in position. They're ready here to deflect any kind of aggression. Behind this, Kaz is going for a 1-1-1, a very aggressive opener. Kaz is going to be delaying his third CC here in favor of a faster starport. So the pressure is on. I was about to say, kind of bringing it back. If you haven't been watching Kaz recently, we have been, as he's a regular competitor when it comes to the online tournaments, when it comes to OSC King of the Hill, and these other Team League matches. Kaz is he reminds me a lot of Demaga when it comes to play styles. They're both very mid-game oriented, and they can be like really defensive, and then they end up in these supermaxed armies with very low worker counts. It's really interesting and really exciting to watch Kaz play at times, because like he can just have these insane armies, and sure, he may be losing workers for all these counterattacks and run-bys, but like he just ends up in like this all-in scenario, and he can take down some pretty big names. It's terrifying. But here we go. We do see our 1-1-1 opener going into Cloak Banshees. First wave of Hellions are moving out, looking to harass and kind of poke and prod at the third base. Bailey Nest is thrown down for Armani, so a very safe follow-up here, going for an early Bailey Nest. This means that Armani is going to be safe against a Hellbat push. If there were to be Hellbats, then Armani will be prepared. And from here, Armani should be working on a lair momentarily. Meanwhile, we do see that Kaz is not going all in. He's going for a third CC just a little bit later, after we're getting into Stim and into Banshee production. So a later third from our Terran player, but Armani does confirm that. With that Link Scout, he at least knows he's not being all in, so he feels pretty safe. And there we go. We have spores being thrown down. We have the lair on the way. So far, the early game has been pretty normal. I mean, pretty passive from our Zerg player, and Kaz hasn't really hit the field with these Banshees yet. His first Banshee is staying back at home. He's waiting for his second Banshee and Cloak to finish up before he moves out. So we are just going to be chilling here. And there we go. The Banshees are hitting the field. The Hellions are going to be moving out. How many Hellions do we have? We have 6 Hellions in total. Marines are moving out with them as well. Interesting. We do not have an armory. Bear that in mind. But a pretty committed push here from Kaz. He's going to be cleaning up a lot of the creep. The Banshees are heading into the mineral lines, but the spores are ready. The Queens are in position. As the Banshees are going to try to pick off whatever they can. They get a couple of drones. They do have to be very careful with how they do move in. Behind this Kaz, he's just shocking around looking for damage. He's not going to push onto creep. He doesn't want to throw anything away, and he will just back off and go back home as he gets his third. Behind this, Armani is getting into 1-1. Baneling speed is on the way for Armani as well. And yeah, everything's looking pretty normal from him. He's just droning up, saturating his third. He should be working on his fourth. And there we go. Fourth is now on the way. This is a bit of a later fourth for Armani, but I do think he was just playing very safe. I think he was concerned about the late third base, and he wanted to make sure he was able to deflect the first push. And he did. The first push was pushed back, and Armani is able to double expand at this point. Again, because his 4th is a little bit later, it does make sense for Armani to just take 2 bases at once to catch up. Meanwhile, behind this, Kaz is just building up his production. He's on 5 racks, as to be expected here. 5 racks set up on 3 bases. Nothing too crazy. Building up his tank count. A very defensive setup here from our Terran player. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if he throws down a 4th CC and starts to slowly work towards a 4th base as well. We were talking about Gressvan when we were casting stats earlier. There's a 4th, by the way. We were talking about Gressvan and how you can be really defensive on this map, and there are a lot of features that do favor defensive play, and that is applicable to Kaz as well. Of course, Stats' game didn't go long enough to us to really talk about like a 3rd and 4th base. Stats ended the game before we could really get in that direction. But again, Kaz is going for a more late game approach. We can see the Link Bane of Armani vying for map control. Does manage to pick off a couple of these Hellions. At the same time, Baneling Runby does slip on in. Does get 5 SCVs. Not too much. A lot of these workers are battered and bruised, but we're okay. And Armani is going for Link Bane Hydra. No Mutas. Going Link Bane Hydra for now. We have the Infestation bit on the way. This is going to be for Hive Tech, for Vipers, maybe even Lurkers as well. Kaz is just building himself up. We have 2-2. We're working on even vehicle upgrades. And I don't expect Kaz to move out until he's maxed. I expect him to just chill back at home. And I think this is a really smart way to play, especially if you're a slower player. Just to like try to nullify the advantages of your opponents. If Armani maybe has a higher APM or better multitasking, if he's able to just go for these run-bys and go for these harassments, then yeah, Kazi's just been building himself up back at home. And here we go, off of 68 workers, we are finally moving out across the map. Oh, the Banelings! Banelings are going to be going down, and there aren't too many more behind this. So Lings, they get caught out. Armani getting caught with his pants down, and Kaz is pushing through the center of the map. How many Banelings do we have? We have 1. We have 1 Baneling right now. That is not going to be enough. Armani, he needs time. He's morphing in 13 more Banelings behind this, but Kaz is not giving him that time. He's pushing up through the center of the map, and he can keep on going. There we go. He's looking to siege up those tanks. The Banelings, they just now finish, but we have a wall of tanks. Oof. A lot of the tanks are going to be going down. The Banelings, they do crash into the Bio Army. Decent connections. And it looks like Armani, does he have enough? Up! It's going to be close. The Marines are getting a lot of damage done. Where's the stim, by the way? There we go. We do finally stim, but Armani barely holds. If the Baneling connections were any worse, I think Kaz may have broken in, but here we go. We have reinforcements on the way. 2-2 just finished for Armani. We need Banelings, and there we go. 11 Banelings are in production, but Kaz is not slowing down. He's coming in with reinforcements. He's coming in with a second wave. There we go. Does target down some of those Banelings. The tanks are sieging up behind this. As long as we're able to split. We need to split, Papi. The base is going to go down. And with a 4th tank joining the fray. Oh my god. Decent Baneling connections. The Lings are coming in from behind. But we have too many Marines, too much bio. As Kaz, he's barely breaking through. Reinforcements do trickle on in, and there's not enough to protect these tanks. Armani will clean this up. Just barely. Again, it's so close here. Kaz was so close to breaking Armani, and again, if the Banelings were a little bit worse, if they didn't connect with those Marines as well as they did, then maybe he would have been able to pull it up. But now Kaz, he's running out of steam a little bit. Lings, they get on top of the tanks. The last 2 tanks go down. Do you have Marines trickling on in? Kaz, he can still pull this off. He can still do this. Reinforcements, they're coming, Papi, they're coming. +3 just now started up for Kaz. Another tank gets targeted by the Hydras. These are expensive losses for Armani. The Hydras are falling. No Banelings, and he's done it. GG gets called. Kaz breaks on through, and he takes game 1 versus Armani. GG. Just everything escalating very quickly out of control. Armani was caught in the center of the map. His Banelings got sniped. His Hydras got sniped. They were moving out at the same time, and Kaz was able to come out on top. Was able to quickly snowball out of control. That was a very, very close defense, I should say. Things were very close between those two players. But again, Kaz did have momentum from the start of the fight, from the start of that move out. And now we're getting into our next game. Oh boy. Team STARCOM. They need one more win, and they can force the ace match. Uno mas, papi. Can Kaz pull it off? We'll see, because it's Armani's map of choice. It's the loser's pick. It's on Armani. Here we go. Hello, Psychons. Hello. And personally, I want this to go the distance. I want this to go all the way to the ace match. I'm greedy like that. I just want more games. I just want more StarCraft. But here we go. It's not up to me. The map of choice, it makes a lot of sense, is going to be Altitude. Altitude is Armani's map pick. A very large map. A lot of bases to be taken. Very wide open spaces. A little bit difficult to move out, just because you are so prone to surrounds from the Zerg player. This is considered to be a more Zerg-friendly map in certain matchups. But we'll see. We'll see how we can approach this as we're getting into potentially the final game of this Team League match. And spawning in the top right-hand corner. In the top right-hand corner of Altitude, we have the Ukrainian Terran player representing Team STARCOM. He needs to win this game to force the ace match. It is Kaz. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing the KWANGDONG FREECS. One game is all he needs to win the series for his team. It is Armani. Here we go. Again, there was nothing too special about that last game. It was relatively passive starts to the game to get into the mid-game of Gresvan. And Kaz was able to hit a very, very powerful timing there with 2-2. He was able to catch Armani unawares in the center of the map. And things, again, they escalated very quickly out of control. But that's going to be a little bit more difficult to really pull off on Altitude. Again, on a map as large as this, you do spot these move outs further ahead of time. You have more time to react and more time to prepare yourself. And more opportunities to engage the army in the center of the map. So we shall see. We shall see. As for now, it is going to be a Rex Expand. This time, we are still skipping the SCV Scout, but Kaz is going for the Reaper first. So this time is not being as greedy as Game 1. To wind it all back, if you remember, Game 1 started with Kaz skipping his Reaper and going Reactor first. So this time, he wants to make sure that Armani isn't going to all-in him, and it makes a lot of sense just because Kaz did just take Game 1. But all-ins are sometimes harder to do on Altitude, so yeah, I'm not too sure if Armani is willing to do something like that. As Reaper shows up, gonna be trying to disturb the economy here of Armani and get a scout of what's going on. One Ling is gonna be going down. Armani is just going to be making it difficult here for... Sorry, Kaz is going to be making it difficult for Armani to expand. Meanwhile, Armani, he's going to base. Interesting. So, yeah, instead of getting his third base, Armani is making a third and a fourth queen instead. So a very delayed third for Armani. He's playing very safe, very defensive. Interesting. Very interesting here from Armani. Is still getting a third, don't get me wrong. It's just he decided to delay the third base in favor of faster queens, which is, again, a little bit more defensive from our Zerg player. Oh, the tumor does go down. Good pick off by Kaz. Sniping that tumor before getting the hell out of there. Does get eyes on, of course, the third base. Knows how late it is and was just making sure that he wasn't being all-in. As Link Speed kicks in and the Reaper does get hunted down. Behind this, when it comes to our opener, it is going to be very economic from Kaz. This time it's a 3CC before Starport, so this time a much faster third base, a later Starport instead. So a much more economic start here for Kaz. As he's getting into his own setup. This time he's not working on Cloak, which I think is a good thing. We saw last game that the Cloak Banshees didn't really do any economic damage at all. He's still going Banshee, don't get me wrong, and Banshees, they do keep you very safe, especially against things like Roach pushes, but Kaz, he isn't going to over-invest into them like he did previously. I get it, that Cloak didn't really come into play in Game 1. Back across the map, Armani, he's going to be going for a Bailey Nest first. Wait, again, very safe play here from Armani. There's no reason for a Bailey Nest this early on, unless you think that a Hellbat push is coming. I think that's like the only reason you would need a Bailey Nest. So very safe play from our Zerg player. Now going into his lair a little bit later. And again, all of these things from Armani, whether it's the faster Bailey Nest or the later third, it's all just like, it's meaning that his economy is a little bit slower than it otherwise would have been in a more standard game. Behind this, we do see Kaz getting into his 3-1-1 setup. Pretty standard production setup here off of 2 bases, and a third base is on the way as well for Kaz. So nothing too crazy here. Interesting. Armani, he's going to be taking all 6 of his gases, 2 gases in the natural, 2 more gases here at the third, and he is going to avoid his upgrades. He's going straight for Mutas, straight for the Spire. So there's a bit of a give and take in here. Oh. As the Hellions have arrived. And Kaz ideally wants to scout of the natural base, but he is being forced back. So there's a bit of a give and take. Armani, he's going to be sacrificing his Ling Bane upgrade, so his Ling Bane army is going to be weaker in favor of Mutas. And the Mutas, of course, they give you map control, they can shut down drops, they can do a lot of economic damage, but they're also very expensive, and they are very fragile as well. So it can be a little bit risky at times to go into Mutas, but Armani, again, he's a very old school player. I'm sure he's well aware of the strengths and weaknesses, and I'm sure he's damn good at controlling those Mutas. There's a lot of potential for economic damage. A lot of potential. Especially if they go unscattered. If they go unscattered, then there's no reason for Kaz to throw down turrets, and he may just die. He may just die to the Mutas then and there. And here we go. We have 10 Mutas on the way. Again, the Evo chambers are done, but 1-1 is delayed for Armani. Meanwhile, Kaz is going for his first push. He has control of the Zelnaga. Armani does not see this coming. Lings are going for a bit of a counterattack. There is not much at home to defend, but there is a bunker. Lings, they do catch some reinforcements. Up, the tank. Tank is going to go down. A big pickoff for Armani. He's got Banelings on the way. Lings in production. This push, it's feeling a little bit lackluster, especially without that tank. Mutas have now been revealed. Armani's looking to collapse on this army. The Banelings, they roll on forward. They take down the Marines. And there are too many Mutas in the air. Kaz is going to be losing everything. And Armani is looking to snowball out of control. He shuts down the force. Back at home, what do we have to defend? We do not have any turrets. We have a couple of Marines. There we go. Turrets are on the way in the main, in the natural. but Armani has full map control. The Lings have arrived. The bunker is under threat. Baileys are rolling on in. Ooh, and they do crash into the mineral line. They take down some workers. They take down some of the Marines. The mutas from here, they can back up. They can rotate over. They can get into the main. Instead, they go for the depots. And already Kaz is being contained. Behind this, Armani, he's droning, is saturating his 4th. We have a 5th base on the way. 1-1 just now starting. Armani is in no danger, especially on a large map like Altitude. Counterattacks take so long. They do take so long to move out, and yeah, the CC is under fire. We can see Kaz is obviously reacting, responding, respecting the mutas. He's going into Thors, Widow Mines, Marines. But he's stuck at home, and Armani's on 93 workers. He's on 93 drones. He has an insane economy. He can do whatever he wants from this point. He can take up into a hive. He can work on Adrenal. There we go. Infestation Pit is on the way for that hive tech. And yeah, this is just becoming too much. A tank goes down. A couple of workers. A depot. Just very valuable pickoffs here for Armani. Just gaining value over time, I should say. And again, like, Armani is soon about to max as well. By the time Kaz can be active on the map, I'm pretty sure Armani is going to have a hive. There we go, hive is on the way. Armani may even have Vipers. Because Kaz is stuck at home, it also means that Armani, he has free reign to just spread as much creep as possible out of the map. There's nothing slowing him down. Just creep all over the place. Now, to be fair, Kaz is also about to max out as well. It's just, the problem is that Armani, he has the ability to just tech up even further and just get a better army. Get into Ultras if he wants to. But here we go, Baileys are rolling on in. We do have a minefield. Up! Up! Some decent Widow Mine connections, but better Bailey connections as they do get into the middle line. They're going to get some SCVs. Workers are going to be going down. Only 6 for the time being, but we have plenty of Lings to just wreak havoc and to get even more damage done. Mutas, they come in as well. They focus on the base, and the base falls. This is just becoming too much. And Kaz, try as he might, like, he does have a decent army supply, but he's all in. He is all in at this point. He doesn't have an economy behind this. He's got 3-3 on the way, but still only halfway done. And look at all these Bailings. It's 42 Bailings are on the way. How do we push into this? We can't. There's the Ultra Cavern for Ultras as well. Mutas are catching reinforcements. And here we go. The Ling Bayonet rolls on in. Collapsing on the Marines. On the Thor. On everything in sight. And Kaz, of course, he's fighting till his last. He only needed one more. Unomas, he already took a game off of Armani. Just needed one more, but alas, it is not going to be enough. The army falls. Only Medevacs survive. And Armani is redeeming himself after that last game. It's showing us that, look, clearly he can go toe-to-toe with Kaz. Can take control of the map. GG gets called, and Armani does it. He will take game 4 and win the series for his team for the KWANGDONG Freecs. GG. Now, which button is it? Yeah. GG, well played. Congratulations to Armani for bringing it back here on Altitude, for going into mutas, and again, after shutting down the first push, things just very quickly snowballed out of control. Like, he got so much map control, he did so much more counter damage as well, and Kaz was stuck at home. He was stuck at home, and Armani could just do whatever he wanted. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to Armani and to the KWANGDONG Freecs for taking the series and for qualifying for Code A. Congratulations. Congratulations. as we switch our scenes over and we have a look at the standings, at the overall outcome of this Team League match between Team STARCOM and the KWANGDONG FREECS. TY having a strong start, was able to 2-0 Ashbringer. Then Wayne and Stats, they went back and forth, 1-1. You know, there was more of a back and forth between the two of them. Same with Armani versus Kaz, also a back and forth, a 1-1 score, which means that TY, he definitely carried his weight here. TY, because of his initial 2-0, his team had the advantage. His team got a lot of momentum and were able to take the series in the end with a 4-2 score. Congratulations. Congratulations to the KWANGDONG FREECS, as they're now going to be a part of Code A. They don't make it to the main event yet. They don't make it into the main event until Code A takes place. And Code A, things are they're going to get harder. It's going to be that much more difficult, so I wish them the best of luck. Meanwhile, if you're a Team StarCom fan, do not worry. Do not worry. Do not be concerned, because Team StarCom, they are... Team StarCom, they have another chance. They have another chance to make it into Code A. They get knocked down to the lower bracket. They're going to be back tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the lower bracket matches, so we'll have you covered there. Oh. Meanwhile, we're going to be going on a short break. We are going on a short break while we get ready for our next Team League match. We have another qualifying match for you guys. It's going to be a banger. It is going to be Team Roddy versus Mystery Gaming. Oh, look at the lineups. Cuckoo versus Ragnarok, Special versus Bunny, and Hydra versus Strange. That is going to be coming up after the break. We'll see you guys soon. See you soon.